All right, how's everybody doing today? Good? Good. Citadel week. Looking forward to having them come in here. Coach Houston's bringing the Citadel Bulldogs in, co-SoCon champs. He's done a remarkable job down there turning that program around and getting them focused and winning again. And he's done a fine job. That staff, I've got some good friends on that staff. They're a well-coached football team. And we've got to go out and play well. You know, this is another opportunity for us to get back in the win column, get some momentum, and carry it over, hopefully. So with that being said, anyone got any questions? Yes, sir.
Shawn, looking at defensively, you know what Citadel's going to do. How much of a defensive shift is it to try to just concentrate on the run and not worry about the pass?
Well, it's certainly a big shift. I mean, the triple option is something you've got to go in. You've got to attack it, not during segments, but you've got to focus on it. And then, of course, you got to be ready for the element of surprise and the play action pass off of it. So you can't focus wholeheartedly on the run, but that's a major, major emphasis that we have to stop and contain for us to be successful on Saturday. Back here to Ben.
How much of a process is it preparing your defensive linemen for cut blocks like they're going to see?
Well, hopefully, the last few, I'd say 4 or 5 weeks now, we've been cutting in practice during our Tuesday events and live segments, so they've been getting some looks at it. It won't be quite the same as what we've been doing offensively to them, but, you've got to go through practice. You can't simulate a cut block, meaning with a bag or a dummy or something like that. You've got to really go after it and have a defender diving and throwing themselves through your thighs or through your lower half to get the feel for it. It's a tough way to go out and practice and prepare, but it's the only way you can go out and practice and prepare for this type of offense.
Shawn, what's your injury situation with Mason? And I see Camper on the depth chart in a starting position.
Yeah.
You talk about him a little bit too as well?
Yeah, Mason has a high ankle sprain. It's just like any other ankle sprain. It's all about time, and the time will dictate when he comes back. So with that happening, Blake Camper moves into that starting role. Blake's ready to go out there and play. We got to turn him loose. He's been in a backup scenario situation all season long. He's practiced second-team reps over and over and over again. He got in there on that touchdown play this past Saturday. So he is very, very anxious to get in there and compete. And let me tell you, he's excited about the opportunity to go out there and play.
With Camper, how quick would your hook be with Matulis being over there ready to play right tackle? Do you go in saying he plays the whole game, or do you just kind of keep an eye on him?
I don't think anyone goes in there at any position saying they're playing the whole game. We'll just have to wait and see. I have a lot of faith in Blake. He's done well in practice, and now the opportunity is for him to go out there and play well. We'll certainly evaluate each and every play during the course of the game and see how he's matching up, but I feel sure that he'll go out there and give everything he's got. I know he's that type of person, and he is certainly out there going to prove this week and prepare to play the entire game.
First question, did you know that Shawn Kelly keeps a spreadsheet of every punt in college?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Maybe I'll look over them at some point. I'll sit down and pull them out and reflect back on his, angle kicks, his field kicks, and just maybe have a good laugh over it someday.
Now that you hear that, how impressive is that attention to detail and kind of willingness to just keep getting better?
All great players have that. All great players have the attention to detail, whether it's charting punts, charting throws. It could be a center in the snaps based on what particular play he may be zone blocking or pulling or running a power play and blocking back. I think everybody that plays at a really high level has that type of mentality.
Where's the line between a cut block that's appropriate and legal and okay and one that you hear defensive linemen start griping about? Where's that balance?
Well, I hear defensive linemen gripe about every cut block, so that doesn't ever change. But, the backward chop block or the high-low block is something that you always see thrown during the course of a game, whether, an interior offensive lineman goes low on an ankle and up and an outside tackle, for instance, comes down and making the high-low block, or the backside. It's I'd have to show you, but a backside, what we call a slip block, where the guard posts up a 3 technique, and then the tackle comes and chops his legs from behind. Those are the types of things that you'll see the defensive line really get upset about. But D linemen, let's all understand this, they don't like being on the ground, and especially being chopped.
Anything from the front, foot to thighs, is fair game, though, right? If you're
Yeah,
coming
as,
straight.
as long as it's one-on-one, it's fair game. Yes, sir.
Would you like to get a look at Connor Mitch and/or Lorenzo Nunez in action for an extended period Saturday, if at all possible?
Well, if all possible, certainly we would. I mean, they've got to be a big part of our program moving forward, and seeing where we can go offensively with either one of them leading us. But we're going to hopefully play the best player that can lead us to a win against the Citadel.
Shawn, are you going to give the team a little history lesson on what happened in 1990 when the USC and Citadel played?
That's 25 years ago. We've got a running back coach on staff that was supposed to get the game-winning touchdown run, but ended up blocking for the guy. So, we've mentioned that a little bit, but 25 years ago has been so long. I think you just got to prepare, and you've got to understand how important this game is for the Citadel and us, and we've got to go out there and be mentally strong, disciplined in our mindset to play a very, very well-coached football team and get a win.
How important has Sean Kelly been in terms of being kind of a bastion of consistency on a team where some other elements might not have been necessarily as consistent throughout the season?
Yeah, Sean's been very critical for our entire football team. Field position, he's done some great things. Probably some of the things you guys don't even realize is keeping the ball away from some great returners, whether it's across the field kick, but you can remember Tennessee had one heck of a punt returner, and there's several other teams that had the same as well. And I think we limited that guy to minimal return yards. I think the guy at Tennessee had a little bit on us, but his cross kicks and his elevation, his timing plays a huge role in our football team's success, and he's done a great job.
Shawn, you mentioned that this game's important to y'all too, but from someone looking from the outside might wonder about your motivation. Looks like the bowl game's off the table. It's a non-conference game against a lower division opponent. What's the motivation for South Carolina in this one?
To win. We haven't done that very often this year. Not many times we went out there and celebrated a victory. So any opportunity to go out there and face a football team and get a win is going to feel good at this point, and that's what we're focusing on. I don't think any one of us in our staff or our players have ever said, oh, the bowl game's off the table, or we're looking forward to a bowl game, especially in the situation we've been dealt with this season. We're just looking forward to hopefully going out and playing a complete ball game and making the most of this opportunity.
Shawn, don't forget also, Everett dropped 199 yards on you at Appalachian State in 1992.
He did. What
What
am I supposed to do about that? I mean,
well, you were on the defense that day.
yeah, I was. I certainly was. So would you want me to fire him or what? I can do that.
Having been a Southern Conference player yourself, though, and Everett, of course, can you explain a little bit the level of pride that Southern Conference players have when they step up to games like this and wanting to put on a good face?
Well, the Southeastern Conference actually originated from the Southern Conference, don't you? And that's one heck of a conference. And now that a couple teams have moved on from that conference, people think it's kind of taken a back seat in the FCS level, but it hasn't. The Woffords, the Furmans, the Citadels, the Chattanoogas, they've carried the torch. The new team, Mercer, coming on there. It's a great football conference. There are great football players in that league. Let me tell you, the best thing that ever happened to me was leaving Camden, South Carolina, and going playing in the Southern Conference. It's some of the greatest memories and moments I'll ever have. So we know exactly what to expect from this football team coming in. They've got well-coached players, and they're extremely talented athletes, and we've got to go out there, and we better be prepared, or they'll come here and whip our butts.
Has this Citadel team grown and changed what they do through the course of the year? Or have they been pretty consistent in their approach?
They're very consistent. Teams like the Citadel, they go in and they do the same. And it's all about what you do defensively that changes kind of what they do offensively or so forth. But they've been steady and very competitive.
And when was the last time you faced a team that broke out the wishbone?
The last time that I faced a team,
that had any kind of wishbone?
would have been Wofford a couple years back, yeah. But the true wishbone that we'll probably see this week is more the Navy style, I think. So.
Shawn, with the uncertainty surrounding, the futures around here, how do you and the other coaches approach that? I mean, do you start looking at resumes, picking up the phone call? Just how do you approach these next couple of weeks?
Everything's different with probably each and every coach, but from my standpoint, I've tried to stay as focused as can be. I told my wife on Sunday night, I said, the wins haven't been there, but I've had the time of my life. I've really enjoyed doing this and being the head football coach, the interim head football coach, and I will continue doing that until my time has come to an end or until a decision has been made that maybe I move forward. I can't speak on our other coaching staff. You've seen us play. I think we've been pretty focused and prepared in order to stay in 3 ball games that we had a chance, we felt, to win there at the end. So I think we're right on track. I don't think the focus should be lost in the next 2 weeks or will be lost in the next 2 weeks.
Shawn, Sky's probably going to go over 100 tackles in the season in this game, which hasn't happened here in like 9 years. You're a former defensive player. What kind of benchmark number is that for a defensive guy? Is that like a 1,000-yard season for a running back? Is it anything they shoot for?
Well, I mean, it's certainly a huge, huge goal. I mean, I think anybody on a defensive front, if you're a lineman, a linebacker, you put that number out there. It's so hard to get to these days with the spread offenses and the ball running from side to side, sideline to sideline. I think it's certainly a credit to his football play and what type of athlete he is that can cover the field and do the things he does in pass coverage. I mean, he makes plays all over the place, whether it's in the backfield, right sideline, left sideline, or there in the middle of the field, maybe in a coverage setting. So he's done a tremendous job, and it's a huge benchmark for him.
And why do you think the linebackers rack up such tackle numbers here? Is that a byproduct of maybe a lack of a push up front, or is that by design?
Well, I think they're just good football players. I mean, it really is. I mean, at least it's not a safety leading us right there in tackles. That would certainly say we're not doing our jobs from the D-line to the linebackers. But, I think keeping blocks off linebackers, letting them flow freely and make the tackles is a plus coming from our defensive line. But then again, I think Sky Moore is just a good football player and can get to the football.
Speaking of your future plans, have you and Ray had your sit-down meeting yet?
We have not. We have not.
The quote just coming out of the Citadel, Mike Houston says the recruiting budget here is more than his entire operating budget. Did you ever have kind of an aha moment when you came from Appalachian State to here where you really realized a big significant difference like that?
No, the only significant difference really was the 82,000 fans that showed up to our games here in reference to about 30, up there at Appalachian. Programs that compete at a high level, it doesn't matter any level, they're going to make sure they have the resources to be successful. And we were very fortunate up there to have an AD in Charlie Cobb that gave us everything that we needed to be successful. And it was facilities, recruiting budget, you named it, he gave it to us. So there was no real big shock coming from Appalachian State to here.
Shawn, will the usual helmets be back this week, and are there any more uniform tweaks on tap?
Yeah, the usual helmets will be back this week, and no changes that I've made plans moving forward. How'd you like the helmets, by the way?
Look good.
Yeah, okay.
From a scout team perspective, offensively, what personnel are running that offense for you this week, and is it anything different? How are they doing?
The personnel, the fastest guy we can have to play quarterback, the toughest, hardest runner that we can have, their B-back or their fullback, and then their two edge guys can be anything from a wide receiver to other tailbacks right there. I was getting on one of our graduate assistants yesterday was running the load option scheme or the arc option, however you want to call it, and he wasn't being very fast at the quarterback position. And so I got on him. I said, you got to understand, this is a split-second decision. I said, when you come out here, whether it's drill work, you've got to wear cleats. We can't have you. We've got raw grass out there, and he was kind of slipping. He said, man, I can't get my traction. I said, well, you wear cleats tomorrow because the decision's got to be made in a split second to get it involved. And our scout team is going to do a good job trying to resemble an offense, certainly like the one they run, but no scout team ever does this system justice.
Who is playing fullback and quarterback on that scout team?
Well, there's several other guys. I mean, we've got anywhere from a couple wide receivers that we have in there playing it. Rivers Beatonball has moved over there and helped us out in the fullback role. Certain situations, you can put your best athlete in there at quarterback, but he may not be able to throw the football. So then you have to switch a guy out. So there'll be some rotation between some guys at the quarterback position. But Rivers has played the fullback position. Mon Denson has played the two wings. I mean, there's several guys that are going to contribute over there. Some fast, speedy guys can get on the edge and kind of force our defense to run from sideline to sideline.
Is DJ Neal healthy, ready to go?
DJ has practiced and looked pretty good out there. I went up there and talked to him before practice yesterday. He kind of smiled to me and said, yeah, I'm a little tight, but other than that, my pain is gone, and he's ready to get back on the field.
And looking at Nunez, is he a guy that, you look at a triple option team, is he a guy that could maybe run that system in small doses, maybe over the next 2 games? Would you think about doing that at all?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you want to get up under center and run the true triple option. You can get in the gun and run triple option with the zone read, throw, bubble scheme. You can do a lot of that kind of stuff with him, which I think he is very well capable of doing it. We've just got to practice him and make sure he's prepared, and when he goes in that situation, to make sure he takes a deep breath, thinks about exactly what he's got to do, and moves forward, because we were all in agreement that, hey, let's keep him in the game the last few weeks. Had he been on the same page with us moving forward in the play that was given. But he is certainly capable. He understands the process and what he needs to do to stay on the field, and he's going to try to do it this week and make some changes.
Shawn, with the bowl game off the table at this point, is there any more of an emphasis towards trying to develop younger guys in the last 2 games of the year?
I don't think so. Our goal is to win football games, so we need to put out the best possible players that we can to go out there and achieve that. Like I said earlier, Blake Camper's going to get an opportunity to start at right tackle this week. He's a younger guy, but he's in there because of necessity, based on an injury. We do a lot of things on Monday nights with Monday Night Football, where we get these guys, they scrimmage one another and get prepared for future seasons or spring practice. But no, our focus is on winning this game this week against the Citadel, and we're going to play the players that can go out there and get us that win.
One more scout team question. When you try to build that group, do you look for kids who ran option stuff in high school maybe and had some background in that, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a thought in the back of your mind, hey, who did this? Rivers Beatonball was at Georgia Southern before he came here, so he had a little bit of that in his system. Now, of course, the offensive line, there's not a whole lot of guys in there that came from the triple option, but it's basically it's a veer scheme, which is a down block and getting the second levels and throwing on backers. So they all can pretty much do that, and of course not as well as the Citadel does it, but they've got a knack for doing that. Yes. Other questions? Phil?
Do you at all spend any time anywhere this week in the office looking at Clemson? Anybody in your staff breaking down any film early, doing anything to prepare in advance?
We always break down film early. That's something we do. Offense and defensive GAs and support personnel are always breaking down film early. I don't think we will pull out a film on Clemson until Sunday afternoon. That's just the way it works. I don't believe in looking ahead. There's certainly no value in that. We've got a football team that's capable of coming in here and playing extremely well and giving us fits, and we've got to have our focus on the Citadel. Like I said, Coach Houston's done an amazing job with this group. They're coming in here to win, so we better be prepared. And if you start looking ahead, you're going to catch yourself off guard, and they're going to come in here, and it's going to be another cock shock, so to speak. Thank you all.